everyone is already a business owner. It's just that you own the business of you. And that business is usually when you have a job, your business of you has one client, which is your employer. Now, if your employer is the NHS and you work as a foundation year doctor, you are contracting yourself out to your employer for £14 an hour. You have a business. It's just that you have one client. And so framing it like that, it's like, okay, so what would it take to increase your personal stock price? What would it take to level yourself up so that the business of you has a higher earning potential? In medicine, it's very hard unless you start something else on the side, or unless you have skills like tech or statistics or like coding or design stuff, rather than skills about being a good doctor. The better doctor you are does not translate to increasing your personal worth to the market, at least in the UK. But if you can combine I'm a good doctor with all this other stuff, now you become worth a lot of money to like hospital management or to pharmaceutical companies or to medtech companies, which is sort of explodes people's minds outside of the realm of like, I'm being contracted by the NHS to just do this thing for £14 an hour. And I think that's a cool way of thinking about it, because otherwise business and entrepreneurship can seem very intimidating. Yeah. But we are already entrepreneurs. We already solve problems for our employer, and we get paid and we get paid an hourly rate. As a business, you can solve problems for a client and get paid an hourly rate, or you can progress beyond that. You can get to a point where you're like, actually, I don't want to charge hourly for my web design. I want to charge per project for my web design. I don't want me to be the one doing the work. I want to hire someone to do the work. I don't want to charge it. I don't want to get a client who's paying me $3,000 and quibbling about, monthly payments. I want to get a client who's paying me $300,000. So who do I have to talk to get paid $300,000 for doing the same stuff as someone who's going to pay me $3,000? And it's all the same kind of thing. It's still fundamentally you're a business of you, and you realize you can hire other people. And it's all like a bit of a continuum. The junior doctor working in the NHS for £14 an hour is also running a business. It's just in a different kind of way than what we normally think.
Pretty complicated business as well. So the things I did when I worked in finance were far more complicated than the things I do now. But I had this internal narrative of like, I'm not smart enough to be an entrepreneur, even though, like I say, the inputs I do now are super simple in comparison.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think entrepreneurship, yeah, you're right. Entrepreneurship is actually often a lot easier than actually doing a job.
Yeah.
Because as an entrepreneur, all you have to do is just solve someone's problem and do it well and charge money for it. Whereas in a job, you have to do that, but you also have to play the politics. You've got to play the game. You've got to think about your career progression. You've got to think about schmoozing up to the person above. You've got to think about like not being too much of a dick to the people below and all of this sort of stuff. And eventually that stuff starts to come about when you hire a team. But actually, yeah, the life of an entrepreneur, the life of a freelance web designer can be quite simple compared to the life of an investment banker.
That's so weird, because I would have thought it's the opposite. Because in the last 10 years, maybe not to like 5 years ago, everyone wanted to be an entrepreneur, and like lots of people were trying to be entrepreneurs. I don't know whether it was just my network, but I felt like everyone was putting on Instagram entrepreneur, and that was it. But then you were. But I feel like it's harder to be an entrepreneur because you have to be more productive, and you kind of have to be more driven. You have to have better, like if you've got a job, you can just kind of do the bare minimum, script, like not get your head above the crowd, just kind of plod along, not get fired, not do anything egregious. Sure. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have to wake up every day driven, motivate yourself, like deal with the issues, find the clients, not just go in and collect a paycheck.
That's true. In that sense, it's a lot more complicated in that you have to have a higher drive and you have to have a higher appetite for risk.
Yeah.
But in some ways, like the workplace is also just as complicated. It's just lower risk. Although you might argue it's not even that low risk, because you could just get fired at any point if the company is downsizing or whatever. So like, I don't know. I think as an entrepreneur, your fate is in your hands.
Yeah.
Whereas as an employee, I've got a team of 13 people. Their fate is kind of in my hands, and that's kind of scary. And if they're really, really good, then I don't want to get rid of them. But like fundamentally, I could decide at any point, you know what? I don't want a team anymore. Yeah. I'm very unlikely to, because I love having a team, but I could decide that at any point. And so their entire livelihood is sort of connected to the whim of their employer, which is just a scary place to be. And so the thing I encourage all my team is like, look guys, this is a good job that we've got here, but like it's unlikely to be a job for life. We are unlikely to be the same team of people when we're all 65. So it's worth having interest on the side. And about half my team are building side hustles and doing consulting on the side and trying to build their own products. And they love that as well.
You've had members of your team go on to like be creators. I know, was it your PA, the medical student? She's now a pretty big creator herself.
She's got like 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that separates an entrepreneur for me, the big difference, the thing that you need to wrap your head around is you need like a propensity to fix problems. You need to be able to jump hurdles. There needs to be like a dogged determination of whatever gets put in front of me, I'm just going to jump over that and keep going, because I think that's what separates owning a business to having a job is that kind of level of determination.
I don't know. Like, I've got friends who are lawyers and management consultants. They also have to have that same level of determination. They just get paid less than entrepreneurs do. So yeah, like, you know, one of my friends, Chris, he's a lawyer. I mean, he earns a lot of money as a lawyer, but he's like, you know, if the client wants something, he has to move heaven and earth to get the thing done. If he's working at 1 a.m, it's like, who cares? The client wants the thing. So I think people in jobs actually work just as hard, maybe if not harder, depending on the job, depending on the industry, than a lot of entrepreneurs. These days, I'm kind of chilling. Like, I'm in my YouTube journey. I've maybe spent 10 hours a week on my YouTube channel. I don't often work beyond that.
Jesus, I'm so jealous of that.
And it's just like systems, processes, team, the whole shebang. And my life is way more chill than the life of, for example, my friends working in law or working at McKinsey or things like that. Yeah.
But you spoke the other day. I can't remember who you were having the conversation with, but you made a point around maybe it was Hamza or someone. You said there's a point where, you know, you're onto something where you really got to pedal. Like, you know, it isn't just, part-time outsource. There's like an inflection point where it's like, yeah, I've got something here that I can scale and I need to go all in.
Yeah, definitely.
You did that with your channel.
Agreed. Yeah, I think in the early stages of any business, there is a grind period where you are sacrificing work-life balance quite a lot. And if work-life balance is your absolute North Star in life, then probably entrepreneurship is not the one. And at least for those few years when it's really hard getting something from 0 to 1. But once it's in orbit, it's a lot easier to keep it there. I think it's sort of like in fitness. You guys might know. This is just what I've heard.
Stop
it! I'm the fit one here. Behave yourself. I was in the gym this morning at 6:30.
I was in the gym at 8 a.m. Personal trainer. But it's really hard to build muscle. But it's a lot easier to maintain it.
Yeah.
Similarly, it's really hard to build a business. It's way easier to maintain it once it's there.
That was a clip with Ali Abdaal. Check out the full episode right here. Oh, what was that?